Alright, let's do a quick little video showing, I've been using the 800 for a long time, and now I have the 810, and I'm going to talk about two things. The buttons that I first change when I get a camera, like what I'm going to do to set it up. That'll take just a minute or two. I'll tell you those buttons. I've already done them. It's like took me 2 minutes, but I'm going to go over the ones that I did. And then the second thing, maybe the more interesting thing, is a little discussion on maybe what's changed, but I'm going to do it in the way of what I'm going to keep an eye on and what I'm most excited about. And first, the buttons. So as I go through here, let us angle this down. Alright, here we go. On the back of the screen here, I will first go to the first font, the little play button that's there. Sorry, maybe backwards. I'll tell you about what I do though. I'm going to change image review to on so that when I take a picture it turns on. It does have an improved battery life, so and I have a bunch of batteries from when I had the 800, so I'm not too worried about that. So we change that, and then we go to the next one and we change I change the image quality to RAW because I shoot in RAW. And then I change the file naming just to be different in mine, so I know that they're mine and I know which camera it is. So I'm putting SJ, which is Scott JARVIE. I don't think I've ever done that before, so I'll know that it was the 810 that took them, as opposed to the 800. I do change the picture control, so I'm going to do that real fast, and I'm going to shoot in vivid. And I may change vivid to be a little bit more clarity, whatever. It doesn't matter too much, because I shoot in RAW. That won't stick with the RAWs. And then I change the color space to Adobe. I can't even tell you why. It's just something I used to do. I was told that Adobe was better, and Adobe color space, that is. Alright, that should be it on that one. And then I go to the wrench next, and I do the time zone. So I already changed, so the time zone is mountain time, and I changed the time. And that's one of the very first things that you're supposed to do before you really take a picture. Alright, so that's it on this one. I mean, I don't do the copyright information, I don't put a comment. I mean, I'm going to use battery info a lot, and I'm going to format a lot of cards, as I get into using them. That's another thing, the playback folder. I want to change the playback folder to all. Since I have an 800, I want it to be able to play memory cards that I had put in the 800 and still be able to show pictures from that. Alright, now to the custom setting, which should be more stuff that is in there. The most important... this light is flickering. Alright, the most important thing on the whole camera that I can't live without is I go down to the controls, which is F, and I assign the multi-selector center button, and I do the playback mode as zoom center button so that the center button zooms, okay? And I think my LED panel, after 6 shows, is finally giving up the ghost. So when it goes back to my face, I won't be as nicely illuminated. I'll have to be right here in the glow of the nice monitors, or I can put in nope, I'm not gonna do that. So there we go. That center button is extremely important. Let's go back down to the camera here. I know it's a little bit backwards, but I'm telling you which ones are my favorite ones to do. And then I go and I change the 2 main buttons, the assign function button and assign preview button. Function button, I have it assigned to the press plus command dials, and I use it to change the crop factor. So full frame, 1.2, and 1.5, or DX. And actually, that lets you choose to get rid of one, and I've never really shot in 5.4 mode, so I took that off as one of the ones that so it won't cycle through that anymore. Alright, what's one of the other ones? Oh wait, the other button is what you want. So the function button is that, and that will be the bottom button because it's the one I most use, so it's kind of the easier access one. Well, I use the virtual horizon on the other one, and used those two things a lot from the 800 days, and I looked through the menu, and there's nothing that I think that I would use more. So, and then I did change the bracket button to try out this HDR so you can get into HDR mode a lot faster, since I don't do auto bracketing and I don't do multi-exposure. So I don't know how much I'll use that, but I changed it. And then let's go up. So now we're in the A section, and we're going to go down looking through them. They all look fine. What I really want to get to is down a little bit further. It is the, what was it? Continuous low speed is 3. I changed the self timer to be 2 second self delay, because usually I just have it for when I'm on a tripod and it's not for self portraits. I want to turn off the beep, and it comes off, so there we go. And viewfinder grid, no, I'll keep it off. And battery order, I'll use the grip first, and that's what it's defaulted to. Okay, so in this big huge menu system, the two main things that I will do, well, the three main things, the center button and the function and the other button, and also, so those three buttons, and then I also want to go to flash sync speed, and it's defaulted to 250, and I'll go up to 320 auto FP or 250 auto FP. So that's the flash sync. So that means when I put on a flash onto the top of the camera, it will, you know, be able to go above 250th of a second. So that's a big one. So now you know all the buttons. Let's talk about some of the things that I am looking forward to on the camera. Well, the things that I am the most excited to try out and use, and the things that I am going to keep an eye on. How about that? All right. So I'm excited to use the low ISO and the high ISO. I'm also excited to have 30% faster shutter or frames per second. So instead of a max of 4 frames per second, I have 5, or I could even go up to 7 if I put the battery grip on with some extra, with different type of battery. I can't remember, probably the AA battery. So if it's anything like what the D700 was like, it was able to go in a faster speed when you put AA batteries in there. I am also interested, I'm excited that it's a little bit lighter, because my lenses, some of them are a little bit heavier. So not as excited as I am on the frames per second, the low and the high ISO, and also that it's supposed to be quieter, and so I'm really excited about that. But what am I going to keep an eye on to see if it's really in real life going to be good with? Well, the deeper grip. I'm going to see how I like holding this compared to the 800, and I think it's going to be fine. That's my guess. I think it's probably improved. I'm probably going to like it better. You know, if it's not going to fall out, you know, if it ever falls out from gripping, from a grip problem, then yeah, it's that would be terrible. But it's never happened before on any of my other cameras, so I don't think it's going to happen. Definitely going to keep an eye on how much I really appreciate having that extra frame per second, and how often I'll actually go into DX mode to use the faster burst. Probably when I'm doing sports, because I'm probably going to crop in and get the extra zoom. I'll be all right with getting the extra zoom, I should say. I am definitely going to keep an eye on how quiet this is, and we're probably going to put it into quiet mode and give it a shot, and I'm going to tell you what I think, because at weddings or other events I need quieter, and the 800 failed miserably in that realm. The 7000 was alright, 800 wasn't good. They say the viewfinder when you're looking through here is different, and I look through here and it's already different, and I think that's cool, and I think it's brighter, and I think that's going to help maybe, or we'll get in ready the pictures. We're going to see. We're going to keep an eye on that. I am going to keep an eye on the back of the screen. They say it's more pixels. Let's see if it has a better picture. See if I'm showing people, if they're going to like it better. Or if it's brighter, like midday, am I going to be able to see the pictures better? So I'll keep an eye on that. And any of these things that you are interested in, put a comment here. And especially if it's a week or two from now, from when I film it or when I put this up, let me know which ones you're interested in, and I will do a feed, I'll report back in my JARVIE show or in some other video. All right, the biggest thing I'm going to keep an eye on is how good and how fast the autofocus is, how good it captures it and how fast it is to capturing it, and if it can handle more things like backlighting and low light focusing. Definitely, probably the biggest thing that I'll keep an eye on, that and the ISO quality. What level I'm comfortable with, like portraits. Am I comfortable at 1600, 800, 3200? I would start to get uneasy in the olden days with the 800, the olden days. At 800 and 1600 was kind of like, that was max for me. That's where my comfort level. So if I can be comfortable at 1600, then I'll be happy, If 800 is like no big deal whatsoever when you're zoomed in and looking and, knowing that it's going to be a big picture. Yeah, so I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll use my center button to zoom in, and I'll have my big screens here taking a look. So ISO, definitely. And then ISO more on star shots. Can I really go twice as much ISO? Can I shoot where star shots I would feel comfortable at 1600, and then I would start to feel uncomfortable at 3200, and I would rarely go to 6200. I would love to feel comfortable doing star night shots at 3200, and then feel just barely uncomfortable at 6400, and then rarely go into the 12,000. You know what I mean? Like, but if I ever go into 12,000 and use a picture, that's amazing, and I will be happy. Quality of the HDR function in camera, since I've never put together an HDR and I've just used the on-camera HDR function, which is not as good as Canon, I hear, and I've seen, because it keeps several of the pictures for you, and this one just kind of puts it together, blah blah blah. Let's see if it's improved and see if the quality is good, because there are certain situations, especially inside of church buildings for my Faith in America project, where you got the stained glass that you want to keep in, nicely exposed, and you have a very dark inside of the church type thing, and there's nothing, no camera, only HDR would be able to do that. But I don't do software HDR. So I'll do the on-camera, get it done, record it in TIFF, which is kind of sad. I already saw that switching that button so that the bracket button goes to HDR makes it so much faster. It's two things. You hit the quality button and then go to TIFF, and then you hit the bracket button and go to HDR. Boom. Super easy. Easier. It could be one button. That would be better. I'm going to keep an eye on active delighting and see if the image quality has improved in medium or low or even high active delighting. I've not seen anyone talk about that, but it's a function that I actually use a lot. So I mean, they tell you some of the specs, but what are the internal things that we use a lot that I'm going to be keeping an eye on? How much better is the autofocus? How much better is the improved ISO? I will, after a lot of usage, I'll keep an eye on these rubber parts, because they always fall off. Every single Nikon that I've ever owned, that grip part has always fallen off. But I mean, I use cameras a lot, so I'll keep an eye on that, but don't ask me for a little while. Any new focusing modes. This button, which they switched from the 700, they put this button here, and it was a it was a terrible downgrade. I didn't like it. But there's this new thing that says GRP in there, it looks like, and I'm not sure exactly what that is. And I did hear talks about a new focusing something or other? And do I actually ever use this I button that they put up here? Like, what does it do? Well, it's doing something. Oh, it's the old, it's kind of like the info button. So what's the difference between the I and the info? Will I use that I button? I think I already know what the difference is, but we'll just keep an eye on it and get a feel for how much I use it when it's on a tripod and I'm just, that sort of thing. All right, is there anything else? I'm looking at my list over here. New photo, rubber, HDR, ISO, AF, that's everything. So now with that, it's low light in here. I'm going to go to 1600 ISO over here. I'm going to go back into RAW and let's do a selfie, shall we? For the very first picture for my 810 with a Sigma 35mm, and let's see the focusing mode first. Let's set the focusing mode to autofocus. Duck lips. Whoa, that wasn't in quiet mode. That was so much quieter. Oh my gosh, it wasn't in quiet mode. So what is quiet mode going to be like? I'm already interested. Oh, let's look at that. It was a good shot. Oh, good. And let's zoom in. I have the magnification of the zoom way too much. I'm looking at deep pixel view. So I'm going to go back to controls and set. So if you wanted to know, I set the multi-selector center button. I usually have always set it to 50%, but I was trying 100% now. Now we're going back to 50. That's all. We just want to zoom in, zoom out, and see if it's in focus. Okay, here's the picture. Yeah, I know. Hard to see. That was the quiet mode. I like it. I will use it. Already a big win on that realm. And let's see, 1600. I know I say I was never really comfortable with before. Yep, very, very good. Already. And I don't know, maybe it's just a situation. Okay. Well, it's definitely getting the tip of my nose when it's in auto. It grabs the closest subject. So, tip of my nose is in focus, but my eyes are not. 1.4 will do it to you when you're doing a selfie. Just trying to tilt my head down so that it's all kind of the same distance away. Alright, so now you already know a couple of things. You know how I change my settings and what I am looking for and what I am interested in, which should be a good review of the 810. A review as in, now you know what to look for, what's going to be different. But I have not told you how much better they are. I felt like they were all going to be better, and I'd seen reviews that all this stuff was going to be better. But I will keep an eye. And with that, those are my thoughts on the 810 versus 800. And have a good day, and check back in.